Hello, everyone. It's uh, it's a pleasure to have you here again on Dojo Live. It's a sunny Wednesday here in Mexico City, where we're broadcasting from. And welcome to another episode of Dojo Live. And we're gonna be having a conversation with someone who's shaping the future of travel tech, so to speak. And we like the concept of shaping the future. It's always something relevant, that's especially considering our new motto, which is the future from those creating it. So you're going to be part of this. Today we're going to be speaking with Jannik Lawaets. He is the founder and CEO of LuggageHero. And basically, what Jannik is going to be talking to us about is how to scale, pretty much scale or die. Welcome to the show today, Jannik. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. Of course, last but not least, we have Mariel Navarro, my fellow teammate, as co-host, broadcasting from our Chihuahua office. So, Mariel, it's a pleasure to have you here too. So, welcome to the show, and thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Hi, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariel. Okay. Well, let me go back to you, Jannik. So, okay, I understand that you are the CEO and founder of LuggageHero. Okay, so why don't we start by that? Tell us about you and tell us about LuggageHero. What is it? Talk to us a little bit about your company, where it came from, pretty much what's behind it. What made you think of this? So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Carlos, and thank you for that introduction. Yeah, sure. So, LuggageHero, we do luggage storage, and we don't do it the what would you say, the old-fashioned way, where you kind of try and find a logger somewhere hidden on a station. We found that a lot of people are staying in rental apartments, and they usually want to have their luggage stored close to it. And that's why we invented the solution that existing businesses such as local cafes, restaurants, bike rental places, even hotels could work as storage units for storing luggage for travelers. And that was actually how LuggageHero came about, to actually just store luggage for people on the go. Yeah.
That's a really, really clever idea, especially considering the increasing number of travelers nowadays, and also the increasing fatalities when it comes to luggage handling, right? So I think it's very relevant what you're doing here. Okay, I understand you, for today's conversation, you chose the topic of you chose how to scale to 36 cities in 12 months. Now, that's quite an undertaking. So, first question, why did you choose this particular topic?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I believe that I've been asked that question a lot of times. So I'll try and justify it with a really good answer on this day's occasion. So, first of all, we've been operating since summer 2016. So we are a fairly young company. We've survived, I would say, more than 3 years, which is like the golden thumb rule within startups. If you survive the first 3 years, it's like you usually die the first 3 years, and especially travel startups do. But when we survived, and I think one of the reasons why we survived was actually that we didn't scale. And that's a little bit opposite for what I'm about to talk about now. But we were actually able to find out what was our core concept and how was we delivering our service in the best way in just a few markets. So we found what was working in each market, and we then replicated it to another market before scaling up as we're doing now. That was a really important lesson.
Okay, I totally get it. So that kind of leads me to asking you the next question, which is, in terms of travel tech, how would you define your value proposition, and how is it defensible against other offerings that might be out there?
Yeah, that's another really good question. I think we touched upon it just in the beginning. I mean, luggage is such a big part of travel, and it strikes me as a weird thing that no one has really set up to solve that issue. I mean, you always have something to carry when you're on the go, and it always holds you back in some way. I mean, either you're trying to get rid of it at your hotel as soon as you get there, or on your departure day, trying to find some place to store it so you can just use your extra time before departure. And it's actually just a struggle on your travel from the very beginning, where you start packing it until you're on the in the airport, checking it in, taking it out, going to your apartment or hotel, and actually to the very end day when you're leaving. And it strikes me as really weird that no one has really set up to solve that whole journey. And we are actually just solving a very small piece of the puzzle, and the pain from this. But I mean, it all starts from the very home to the very end. So I wouldn't say that we're a tech company solving it all, but I'm just saying there's really room and space for improvement. I would say.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that you experience the same types of challenges, so to speak, in different, for example, in the case of you have business travelers, you have leisure travelers, you have adventure travelers. So all these groups of travelers, all these spaces have different challenges when it comes to luggage handling. How do you tackle these challenges, or how do you solve their unique problems in each situation? What is your offering to each one of these unique niches?
I think the key word is convenience, and it's been the key word from the very beginning, because I didn't find it convenient to ask any of my guests staying in my home. I was doing a rental on Airbnb back in 2016, and I didn't find it convenient to ask these people to go to one central station in Copenhagen to leave their luggage down in some basement, trusting there would be a logger free and they would have the change ready for it. I didn't find that convenient. So when I started LuggageHero in Copenhagen, I started out with having 30 locations spread out in this city. And Copenhagen is a fairly small city, but 30 locations was a good start. When we expanded to London and New York City, as where we are now, we expanded with more than 100 locations. Which I would say is the minimum in these cities. But the key word is convenience, bringing convenience in every angle of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Maria, let me pass on the mic to you.
Okay.
Questions?
Right now, the number of travelers is increasing. There are a lot of type of travelers, and also the places where they're staying, whether is it an Airbnb or a hotel, I think they're offering the same, a drop-off place for your luggage. Does it represent a real competitor for you? Or
who is?
Hotels or Airbnbs who are offering the same for a traveler?
I wouldn't say that hotels is a competitor to us, because we are not that much catering the exact audience for staying in hotels. We are catering mostly people who are staying in rentals, and especially people like staying in Airbnb or renting their apartment on Booking.com, HomeAway, VRBO, whatever. There's more than 70 different platforms out there. But people who usually stay in an apartment doesn't have the same concierge service as they have in a hotel. So I don't see the Airbnbs making any competition for me. They're more making it easier, because they're kind of struggling on having people getting out of the apartment or waiting to let them in. And it's usually because people just want to get rid of all the bags, because who want to enjoy a new city you just arrived to with a couple of bags? No one will. They want to have them safe, and then want them having indoor, and we can provide that in that convenience. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. It's just one thing. Okay, technologically speaking, are you facing any challenges, or what challenges would you said are the most important, like integrating new technology, or in regards of the performance of your site?
I think one of the challenges we have all the time is staying focused. That is one of my most important tasks as a CEO, and in a critical startup, in the beginning of a startup's life, to stay focused and not letting you distract. As I was talking about before, there's so much things involved with luggage, and just to give you an example, we've been asked several times by multiple providers and people guests that would we be offering a transportation, and that's why we need to stay focused, because we found something that works. People go and drop the luggage and they pick it up the same place. It's very, very simple. Don't try and complicate things. So if you found something that works, keep on doing that until you're done and you're finished, and you've done a good job scaling it. And then you can look into other verticals or horizontal integrations. And I think that's a challenge that as recently as today, we were discussing this at my team with my co-founder and one of the guys from the team, to stay focused and not let ourselves distract or attempt to go into new things all the time.
Yeah, definitely get it done first and then go to the next thing. Right now, with what you have, the mobile platforms, they're getting like very, very strong. Do you guys have an app, or it's like everything directly to the site?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, when I started this company, I was one of the first LinkedIn posts I made, I recall, was who can make me an app, and a lot of people could make an app for me. And I went out and I talked to a lot of these guys, and they were like, yeah, you want iOS, you want Android, you want Windows, you want this and this and this, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I just got that number on the sheet that we're looking at, and that number was just too high. That was the expense of making this. But then I met a guy who said, you can make a web app. And he showed me an example of how it worked. And it works so seamlessly, just as an app. And it actually had all the features that I would like to have from the beginning. And what I found out later was actually the fact that there's a lot of apps out there, but people don't use them. So people either don't want to download them because they think I'm never going to use this, or if they download it, they don't use it again. So there's only very few apps you actually use again and again and again. So for us to stay really lean and fast in the development, we decided to stay on the web app as it is for now.
It's kind of going back to the basics, right? I kind of like the idea too.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely right, because I'm thinking right now, I do have apps that I have only used once, and they're like in there in my phone somewhere.
And imagine you a traveler and you just arrived to a new city and you're like, I want to store my bag, and our website pops up and asking you to log in to App Store and download this app in hopes that we will solve your pain right now, instead of just showing you a web app and showing that there's a 100 meters to your nearest location. It's right here, press here. So it's like the whole experience is just so much more seamless this way, I think, at least.
Right. Jannik, I have a question for you real quick, but also I would like to remind the audience that if you have any questions for Jannik or about the company, about his company LuggageHero, or about the topic that he chose, you can do that on Twitter. Very simple. Our handle is @DojoLive. You already know how to use Twitter, so I don't need to tell you that. So just remember, @DojoLive, right here, or it's going to be right there on the website too. Just keep an eye for that. Anyway, okay, back to my question. Well, I'd like to narrow down on the topic. The topic is 36, how to scale to 36 cities in 12 months. So that's good. That's the beginning. I said that's quite an undertaking. So it's a very nice challenge to tackle. In that context, what would you say that what sort of limitations, so to speak, are you facing, and how are you addressing them in order to scale so rapidly? Can you talk to us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah. I think that one of the main challenges we have when scaling that much is obviously we are reliant on a lot of different things happening at one time, and we're reliant on people. We're reliant on relationships and great recruitment. And one of the things that we found working fantastic in our scaling of this concept is actually our community. So we have more than 100,000 registered users on our platform in the 3 years that we've been live. And in the way of scaling this concept, I found that a lot of these people who have used it in either London, Copenhagen, or New York was writing me personal messages saying, I want to open it up in Paris, I want to open it up in Rome, Barcelona, everywhere. So that made me think, could these people really pull it off? So we set up an experiment, and the experiment showed that these people could actually perform and be of help to scale my concept. So we call them brand heroes. So it's we actually made a community for these people who want to be more than just travelers. They want to be part of this startup. They want to be part of our future and scaling it together. And we call them LuggageHero brand heroes.
I'm sorry, what was it? How did you call it? I didn't get that last part.
We're calling them brand heroes.
Oh, brand heroes. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at luggagehero.rocks, like rocks, we made a whole separate domain just for this. And this is where they sign themselves up once they've tried our service in any of the cities. And they get rewarded being part of this community. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Maria, do you have any more questions for?
Yeah,
Jannik?
regarding brand heroes, do you have any like minimal requirements for someone to become a brand hero?
It's very different. I mean, we have a set of procedures once a person signs up as a brand hero, and one of the procedures is someone an account hero is what we call it, from the head office, is doing a video call with the person, finding out what are they interested in, and how much time could they put aside on this project. And once we kind of set the expectations, we go to the next stage of onboarding that person, so they can be a certified onboarder and acquire of new shops. But we don't have we don't say you can't have a job or anything like that. We've had some of the most successful brand heroes we had on board is actually someone who's had a full-time job on the side of it. Yeah,
that's cool.
Okay. Here's something that I sort of wanted to at least touch on while you're experiencing this scaling, this growth in such a short time frame. Would you say that in your space, in your vertical, would you say that specific technologies, for example, AI, would you say that they have a significant role in order to contribute to this growth or to this scaling of your product? In other words, how do these technologies help your growth in such a short time frame, if applicable?
So when we look at a city, one of the first tasks is actually determining is this the right city for us? And I mean, we do a lot of this manually. So we sit and investigate, first of all, how many international tourists arrives in the city, how many domestic, how many rentals are there in these cities, but most importantly, how does this city work? in the infrastructure. Where's people moving? Where's people going? And I think there are a lot of interesting touch points which make up a whole picture for us, which is a lot of different data points on determining what city is the right city, but also where would we need to have locations around that city. And I definitely think that AI would have an excellent spot in that for future for us. We foresee that we can be in more than 4,000 cities worldwide. So if we need to scale this, and you saying it's hard to scale to 36 cities at one time, imagine doing thousands of cities as Airbnb has been doing. So you need to have a lot of things going on in the background, automatically tasking and so on, to actually determine a lot of these things. And I think AI could have a spot in that for us.
Okay. Yeah, when you have things like AI, machine learning, things like that, of course you get data, you get a lot of feedback, you get actionable items that are definitely going to help you. Now, in this context, how do you go about implementing these this particular data, or in other words, how do you validate new features and functionalities in such a fast-paced market or vertical?
Yeah, I mean, some of the validation we're doing now, in speak of what I'm just talking about, is actually we can map the whole traction from a whole city, and we can see where all the traffic spots are in terms of how much traction do we have in the shops. Mm-hmm. So and this is really interesting data for a lot of people, because they want to know how people move. But we can actually see that in live mode. We can see the booking is made. We can see whenever someone is in the shop, how many people are they in the shop, and when are they picking up the bags. And we can have a lot of data points and movement this way, and we can foresee a lot of actions on behalf of these people this way, and AI can help doing that as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jannik. So listen, we're approaching the final minutes of this conversation. It's funny that time flies when you're having fun and when you're having a good time and a good conversation. So because of this, I would like to ask you just one final thing is, in terms of your space, the travel technology and LuggageHero, pretty much everything we've talked about today, what keeps you up at night? What comes to mind that says this is what's going to be a game changer for LuggageHero in the near future? What can you talk to us about that?
I mean, what keeps me up at night is not scaling this fast enough. That's it. Simple. I mean, it's a simple solution to a very common problem, and this is about scaling this as fast as possible. We want to be the market leader in this, and to do that, we need to scale it. If I would just be okay with having like locations in Copenhagen, making a profit of it, I would have settled with that in 2016. But I want to have this being a worldwide thing, and for that, we're also actually doing a crowdfunding right now, an equity crowdfunding on Cedar's platform. And this is also a way of reaching out to investors around the world, actually, from Mexico, from anywhere in the world, in Europe too. So we need that. We need a lot of international help on what we're doing.
Excellent. So I'm sure some of our viewers, or hopefully many of them, are going to be listening to what you have to say about this, and they'll be reaching out to you to the information that's going to be right there on the website.
Yeah, please.
Mariel. Yeah, absolutely. Mariel, do we have anything else? Any final words? Any final questions for Jannik before we wrap up?
Well, just from my personal point of view, it's a pretty cool idea. Myself as a traveler, I would like to have that, like here in Mexico. Hopefully, it can scale to Mexico. And are you present on any social networks so people can find you besides the website?
Yeah, I mean, one of the social networks I use the most is definitely LinkedIn. So you can always connect with me on LinkedIn and write to me there. I'm really connected there. So, but we are also on other platforms, but LinkedIn is one of the most used. at the moment.
Main one. Okay.
Absolutely, and all your contact info is going to be right there on the landing page of this interview. So worry not, gentlemen, ladies, it's all going to be in there. So keep an eye on our recent upcoming updates to the page for contact info. Before we go, just one quick announcement for about next week, and I would like to remind the audience that next week we're going to be speaking with Robert Raid, the managing director of a company called Twin Power in Canada. So it's going to be a totally separate conversation. Topic, but this should be interesting too because it's about wind power and the technology behind wind power. So remember, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, as usual, as ever, here on Dojo Live. Without further ado, the only thing left for me to do is simply, Jannik, send out a big, heartfelt, warm thank you to you for having spent 30 minutes with us, and I'm sure all your viewers are going to be reaching out to you soon through the website. Any final words of wisdom for our audience, Jannik?
You just caught me there. It's really hard. It's
something encouraging
8:30. It's 8:30 p.m. here in Copenhagen. I just put my 2 kids to sleep. One final word would be: there's time for everything you want here in the world. I have 2 kids, and I still manage to travel and stay fit and focused, and still having a great time with my kids. So that's
excellent.
The final word.
We are well. Absolutely. Then in that case, we are well aligned. Okay, right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mariel. Thank you, Jannik. It was a very pleasure and an honor to have you here on Dojo Live, the future from those creating it. Until next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.